Hey everyone, this is Peperios, and I'm making a Godot nodes tier list as a Godot developer. Thought this would be a fun idea, so let's just get into it. It's going to be very biased because it's just my experience. I don't have every node here because some of the nodes are honestly I just never use them, so I wouldn't even know what to say honestly. Anyway, animated sprite 2D, I'd say it's pretty good. I used it in one of my projects. Uh, the project didn't really work out because I'm not really into 2D drawing stuff and like that, but it worked decently well, so I'll put it into A. Anime Sprite 3D, I've never used it. I think it's gonna go into C just because I've never used it. I don't know how well it goes. I assume it's like a label 3D but for sprites. Um, you'll see my opinion on label 3D later. Animation Player, I'd say it's pretty good, but it could do with some improvements. I think the UI is a bit clunky compared to Blender, for example, or even other game engines like Unity. I just don't really like the way the UI works. Although in Godot 4.7 now you can expand the little what do you call them, like position rotation type thing. You can expand that little menu underneath each node, which is pretty nice. Animation tree. Honestly, this one's just really fucking confusing. I have no idea what this does exactly. I think it's for building animation state machines, but I'm not really sure. I remember I tried to watch a tutorial on it and I just did not understand it at all. Area 2D, Loki, like my goat, I use him for a lot of things, so he's got to go into S tier. Area 3D, bit worse. I think everything that's 3D is a bit worse than the 2D counterparts. No offense. Audio Stream Player, also my goat. Use him for everything. Love him. Audio Stream Player 2D. For some reason, whenever I try to get directional sounds, they just sound awful in Godot. So I'm gonna have to put him into C tier. I get what he's there for, but maybe I was just setting it up wrong. But it just was not working for me. Audio Stream Player 3D. When I tried to use it, it worked a bit better, so it's gonna go into B tier. Just because it worked better for me when I tried to use the 3D versus the 2D. Button. Okay, I have a few gripes of Button. I think it's a bit clunky the way it works. I usually make my own custom button class that I just put onto controls and then interact from that, but then I lose all the interactivity of enter and stuff that I would need to code in manually. So yes, Button is really good as a generic class, but actually I don't think it's even a generic. I think base button is the generic class. But usually I just override over my own thing. Now when I was starting out, it was pretty good. Actually, I'm gonna put it into B tier. Yeah, when I was starting out, I used button a lot, but over time I just kind of stopped using it. Camera 2D, really good. I love Camera 2D. Camera 3D, also pretty good. Just putting it lower just because I think everything that's 3D is a bit worse than the 2D counterparts. But I think Camera 2D is pretty good. Canvas layer. Now, this is going to be a bit of a shock, but I don't really know what this is used for. I rarely use canvas layers. The one time I did was when I had a mini project I had to transform the color of the entire scene. I used it for that, but other than that, I've basically never used canvas layer. But whenever I watch a tutorial or something, I see people using the canvas layer all the time, so I can't put it lower than B tier. Center container, I never use this guy. I assume it works. Usually I just use anchors and stuff to center my stuff anyway, so yeah. Character body 2D, I'd say it's pretty good. I rarely use character body 2D just because the types of games I make are like roguelites and stuff. So they also have no characters. It's like roguelike deck builders of cards and stuff. So I rarely use it. I don't really know how good it is. I assume it's pretty good since I see a lot of people using it. It's a very core node. Character body 3D, same story. I don't think I've ever used this one. I've used this one in some small projects, but not that often. Checkbox. I kind of like checkbox. It's like a filler I'd use in my menus. Maybe I'd override the theme at some point, or I'd just make my own custom checkbox eventually. I'm not really sure, but I'd say it does its job pretty well, although it is pretty small, which is quite annoying. Check button, just use checkbox. Collision polygon 2D. This one's okay. I guess it's better than like it does what it's supposed to, so I can't put it any lower than A, honestly. Like, I don't think it's outstanding, but it does what it's supposed to. I just don't really like the collision shape, collision polygon 2D. I find all that kind of hard to do. Maybe it's just a game I'm making, I'm not sure. Collision polygon 3D, B tier just because it's 3D. Collision shape 2D, I mean, this one is just really good whenever you need to make a cube, a circle, stuff like that. Collision shape 2D got you. Collision shape 3D, honestly, same story, even though it's 3D. I find myself using this one quite a lot to like fit stuff in, and yeah, it's pretty good. Colorrect, I do like Colorrect, but recently, so I'm not going to put into S tier. I would have like a year ago. Recently, I've started using panel containers with a custom theme and just using that like a colorrect because they scale whatever's inside, which I find quite useful a lot of the time. But if I ever need like, I don't know, flash the whole screen a certain color, I use a colorrect, sure, why not? The abstract container class, I mean, containers are the go, so S tier. GPU particles 2D, like I gotta put it into S tier. GPU particles 3D, a bit less functionality, I'd say, so it's gonna go into B tier. I haven't used this one that much. Direction light 2D, I rarely use direction light 2D in my games. I'm gonna put into B. Direction light 3D, I mean, it's literally like the sun. How could you not put it into A? GPU particles 2D. Oh, these are CPU particles. Get the hell out of here. Okay, GPU particles 2D. S. GPU particles 3D. B. Grid container. I don't like that you can't change the direction of the grid in the grid container unless you need to like rotate the hole, and that is a bit of a big limitation for me. So I'm gonna have to put it into C tier. I do use it occasionally, but I find that I need to just make my own custom like grid container kind of by combining HBox containers and VBox containers. Speaking of HBox container, S tier, I love it. I also put VBox container into S tier. I think they're perfect. When I was starting out, I didn't understand why people used them at all. I arranged everything by myself, and it was kind of silly and didn't really work. HTTP request, I've used this in one of my projects. It worked for its purpose, so I'm going to put it into A tier. Like, it abstracted it perfectly for me as a comp sci major, but one that isn't like the smartest of like internet stuff. So yeah, pretty good. Label, okay, I have a lot of gripes of label. Sure, I use it for everything, but sometimes the scaling, especially inside containers and stuff, is just kind of wonky donkey. So I'm gonna put it into B just because of that. Label 3D. I remember when I used Label 3D in one of my 3D projects, it was horrendous. Just the text was really low quality. I know that's kind of on me and like the font settings and stuff, but still, I'm gonna put into C tier. Line 2D. I mean, Line 2D does what it's supposed to, but a lot of the time when I try to use it for something specific, I have some problems with it. So just because of that, I'm gonna put it into C tier. Line edit. I think, I mean, it does what it's supposed to, but it's just a bit ugly. So it's going into C tier. Like the default theme is a bit ugly, and I think it's kind of hard to get looking like proper. Margin container, I love margin container. Just to use it for literally everything. Honestly, I think I use it too much. Like, instead of setting stuff up manually, like in a corner, I'll use a margin container, put it like top right 5 to, top 5, right 5, and then just use the rest. So yeah, I love it. Marker 2D, I get what it's there for. It's for like setting like a marker in a scene, but I just never use this on a scene. Marker 3D, same story. Mesh instance 2D, honestly, just I never use this and I find it a bit confusing when I do. Mesh instance 3D, same. Node is the go. Use it for like all my auto loads, all my like just pure logic ones, since I don't really use C# that much. Node 2D, I mean, like, I gotta put it into S. I'm seeing that S tier is a bit filled up and the A tier is lesser, but whatever. Node 3D, I think 3D just gets a debuff for being 3D, so A tier. OmniLight 3D, Hey, I don't even have much to say about this. I mean, like, it does what it's supposed to. Option button, a few gripes of option button. For example, if you have really a lot of options, although I think they fixed it. Actually, they did fix it in 4.7 support into A tier. When you had a lot of options before, it would just like go. First of all, it would like go to the bottom of the screen and then move the thing up. But then if you have too many, you can't see them all at the same time, which was really rough. But they fixed that. Panel, panel is just a worse panel container IMO. So I'm just going to put it into A, panel container S. Path2D, whenever I've tried to use Path2D, my results were like horrendous for like any VFX and stuff to like follow. Speaking of following, path follow 2D, I hate this node. I'm glad it exists, but I just hate it. Path3D, I haven't ever used this, so I'm just going to put it into the same kind of thing. Point light 2D, really good light, my favorite like light node. Polygon 2D, I assume it's like a panel, but Polygon, I don't think I've ever used this, so I'm just gonna put it into B. Progress bar, I love progress bar for making my health bars and stuff. It's not amazing. I've run into some issues with, for example, like making the animation when someone loses health. With progress bar, it's kind of hard because you can't really make a like, for example, you want to move from like 60% to 40%. You can't make that transition like anything other than losing the like percentage. You can't make it like flash white for that specific section and stuff. So progress bar, I do like it. I'm glad it exists, but I can't put it into S tier. Raycast 2D, oh my goodness, whenever I've used Raycast 2D, I've had so many problems. Raycast 3D is even worse. Oh my god. Now I've tried to use it for like casting Raycast instantly, and it just causes so many problems. It lags the game out if you try to use too many, which makes sense. Like I've tried to use like 201 frame, and it just lags the game out, and then I had to like space them out because I tried to use them for like pathfinding with vision, but it just didn't really work. So Raycast 3D D tier, I just hate it. Raycast 2D is a bit better, so C tier. Remote transform 2D, I understand what it's there for. I just never used this. Remote transform 3D, same situation. I think it's for like following a node, having a node follow a node. Usually I just make it like a child of, or like figure out some between shenanigans. Rich text label, again, I'm really glad it exists. I've just had some problems with it, so it's not going to S tier. Like it has amazing functionality, but it's not perfect. Rigid body 2D, I rarely use this as I don't make these types of games, but I see it works pretty well. So B tier. Rigid body 3D, also B tier. Scroll container. Whenever I try to use scroll container, I have some like mouse filtering issues. I'm glad it exists. Whenever I try to implement this functionality myself, it was really hard. So it's gonna go into C tier. Skeleton 2D, I just never used this, so C tier. Skeleton 3D. I've used this a bit more and it worked quite well, so B tier. I know this probably doesn't make sense, but whatever. Spinbox. Now, I didn't know this existed, and when I found out, I was very happy as I do a lot of games that work with numbers, and like whenever I want to make like custom menus, Spinbox works really well for that. But resizing below arrows and stuff has been a pain, so I'm not going to put it in S tier because the S tier is for like perfect things to me. Spotlight 3D, just haven't really used this, so it's going to go into C tier. Sprite 2D. Sprite 2D is pretty good. I mean, I do like it. I used to use texture Rex for everything, which was a mistake. I started using Sprite 2Ds more recently, like the past year or so, and it works pretty well. So pretty happy with it. Sprite 3D. Just had problems. Like, I'm glad it exists, but whenever I try to like render something in 3D, then having like Z-index issues. I know that's like kind of what are you gonna do about it? I'm kind of just taking it out on Sprite 3D for no reason, but still. I'm going to put it into B tier. Static Body 2D, it's pretty good, but I don't have much to say about it. Static Body 3D, it gets the 3D debuff. Sub Viewport, I hate this node. Sub Viewport Container, I also hate this node. Every single time I've tried to do something with Sub Viewport Container, I just, for example, I try to combine like a bunch of textures into one texture. It just looks awful. I can't get it to work, and eventually end up axing the feature, aka cutting it, and just using like something else, just making something else completely. Also, if you have too many sub viewports, I found that now this could be a previous Godot issue. I found that you get a lot of lag and just it doesn't really work that well. I did see a lecture on the developers, I think, of Dawnkeeper that was saying that sub viewports are amazing. They use it for everything. I don't really understand that viewpoint. I, whenever try to use sub viewport, it just doesn't work for me. So it's going to D tier. Text edit, just the worst line edit. Honestly, texture button. I used to use these for everything, but then having to manually plug in new textures for like hovering and pressing and stuff is just a bit rough. So I just end up making my own like kind of texture button. Basically, I make like a texture rect button, and then I put a class that adds like pressing and stuff functionality on top of it, which works pretty well. Texture rect, honestly, S tier. I love texture rect. I use it quite a lot. Scaling and panels and stuff is just amazing. That's panel containers, I guess. I have literally no complaints about it. Maybe that's because I master its features, like the stretch modes and the expand stuff. I'm pretty good at it. So yeah, it's going to S tier. Timer. I like timer a lot, but I just find myself using the await get recreate timer functionality a bit more, and then having like a constant defined with the seconds. So it's going to go into A tier. World environment. Honestly, I thought I would rate this lower, but I think world environment is an A tier for me. Every time I've tried to use it, it's worked out pretty well. I remember messing with the settings once in my game when I basically didn't add a directional light and I had the world environment set up, which didn't do anything. I was like, oh, okay, I guess it doesn't work for some reason. And then I added a directional light and the game lit up and it looked amazing. It just looked so good. And I was so stunned, and it was just such a powerful feeling. It was just so motivating to start working on a game that actually started looking good instead of looking horrendous like it did before. So yeah, world environment into A tier. I really talk quite fast there, huh? Thank you for like listening to this. I might make more videos like this, or I was thinking of making tutorials. Though when I tried to make a skip pro tutorial, it didn't really work out. So I just decided to make some like sloppy tier list content. I hope you guys enjoyed this and have fun developing. See you.